The psychology of the sword. Discover the hidden power that awakens in your weakness. There are moments in life when everything seems absolutely ordinary. An ordinary day, a person crossing our path, a glance, a phrase, a presence that seems insignificant. But in Eastern philosophy, what we call chance is actually the first touch of the path. Zen masters have always taught that nothing, absolutely nothing, happens without purpose. They say that the universe speaks through encounters, and that every person who appears, however briefly, is a silent messenger of our own destiny. Imagine for a moment that unexpected encounter, that quick conversation, or even that person who deeply hurt you, weren't there by coincidence. Imagine that all of this was part of an invisible architecture, a vast spiritual tapestry woven by forces far greater than human logic can comprehend. This is how the East views existence, as a dance of meaningful connections, where the do-it reveals itself when we pay attention. At the start of this journey, I want you to mentally return to a time when someone changed the direction of your life. Perhaps someone presented you with an opportunity. Perhaps someone broke your heart. Perhaps someone taught you something that still resonates within your soul today. None of this was by chance. In the Eastern perspective, these people are teachers in disguise. Some show you who you are. Others show you who you should no longer be. Some open doors, others close cycles, but all, without exception, are part of a greater plan. Zen Buddhism teaches that when the disciple is ready, the master appears. But few people understand this phrase deeply. The master is not always a wise person, nor always an enlightened one. The master can be someone who disappoints you, challenges you, irritates you, or tests you. Sometimes the master is the person who forces you to awaken to your own strength. Other times, it's someone who shows you limits you didn't see. And, in rare and precious situations, the master is someone who lights a path where before there were only shadows. The premise of this video begins here. What if you understood that every encounter is a spiritual mission? It doesn't matter if it was a great love or a great mistake. It doesn't matter if it was a hug or a betrayal. Each person who entered your life brought with them a key. And that key unlocked something inside you: courage, wisdom, pain, power, understanding, patience, clarity, or even the decision to completely change your path. Eastern philosophy invites us to broaden our perspective, to stop seeing life as a random sequence and start seeing it as a training ground. Each person is an instructor. Some strengthen you, others teach you to defend yourself, others teach you to let go. And some, very few, teach you the meaning of true spiritual connection. Therefore, the beginning of the narrative is simple yet powerful. You are not alone on this journey, and no encounter was accidental. The path always knew where you needed to be. As we progress along the path, we begin to realize that there is a profound intelligence guiding every step of our existence. It's not about magic, superstition, or luck, but about a silent alignment between who we are and what we need to experience. In the East, this principle is called Yin-Yuan, the invisible force that connects people, experiences, and decisive moments with absolute precision. When a Zen monk speaks of destiny, he is not talking about passivity. He is not saying that everything is already decided and that we should simply observe. He is talking about something much more subtle. Destiny is a reflection of the inner vibration we carry. When we change internally, new people emerge. When we are lost, mirrors appear. When we awaken, guides appear. That's how the universe responds. Life, then, transforms into a spiritual dojo, a training ground where every seemingly ordinary situation carries a hidden lesson. A smile can reveal confidence. Criticism can reveal fragility. A loss can reveal strength. A new beginning can reveal purpose. Nothing is too small. Nothing is irrelevant. In Taoism, there is a concept called Wu Wei, which means to act without forcing. It's the natural flow of things. When you live in inner harmony, the right people come into your life. When you live in disharmony, the necessary difficulties arrive to bring you balance, not as punishment, but as alignment. And this is where the emotional construction begins. When we realize that everything is connected, we begin to see our own lives with more awareness. Chaos ceases to be chaotic. Doubt ceases to be random. Wounds cease to be injustices. Everything gains purpose. Think about how many moments you've lived that only made sense years later. How many people you thought were the end and were actually just a gateway to something bigger. How many pains opened doors. How many wrong decisions pushed you in the right direction. How many goodbyes saved your peace. This is the invisible fabric of destiny, a tangle of choices, encounters, and synchronicities orchestrated not by the mind, but by the soul. And the big revelation is this: destiny is not written, it is being woven as you walk. Each person who enters your life is a thread in that tapestry. Each experience is a color. Every decision is a knot that connects everything. When you understand this, ceasing to fight against life becomes natural. You begin to flow, to listen, to observe. And you realize that, instead of seeking control, the secret is to seek alignment. And when that alignment happens, the right people arrive, the right paths open up, and encounters cease to be a mystery, becoming part of a great spiritual work in progress, its own evolution. The path, in the Eastern view, is not a straight line, but a constantly moving circle. Each turn reveals a new master, and each master emerges disguised as an experience. Sometimes it is a triumph, other times a loss, but always, always it is a lesson. In the West, we learn to seek learning in victories. In the East, true learning is found in wounds. It is there, at the point where something breaks within us, that the spirit begins to awaken. The samurai used to say, "No sword is born sharp, it needs to know the fire." This is the essence of the lessons of the path. Life shapes the warrior of consciousness through pain, doubt, solitude, and silence. Each obstacle is a lesson in disguise. Each person who challenges you, each mistake that frustrates you, each fall that humiliates you, these are forges, and their fire is what tempers the soul. Zen masters often teach that suffering is merely the body of the lesson, not its spirit. Suffering, in itself, does not awaken anyone. It is the awareness that arises from it that transforms. He who suffers and does not reflect repeats, but he who suffers and observes awakens. Thus, each experience of pain becomes a meditation in motion. But the path is also generous. Not every teacher comes in the form of pain. Some arrive as unexpected lights, the friend who inspires you, the stranger who helps you, the silence that brings you clarity. Each of these encounters is a way for the universe to tell you, keep going. You are on the right track. When you understand that life speaks through people and events, something magical happens. You stop seeing yourself as a victim of fate and begin to see yourself as a student of destiny. Every word, every look, every gesture, even the most trivial, can contain a profound lesson if you are awake enough to see it. Eastern philosophy does not separate the spiritual from the everyday. The way is in everything. In the act of serving tea, in the gesture of listening to someone, in the silence before answering. What defines the greatness of a human being is not the number of their victories, but the awareness with which they navigate their experiences. The true master is not the one who teaches you, but the one who awakens the master within you. So, from now on, don't ask, "Why did this happen to me?" anymore. Ask yourself, "What is this trying to teach me?" This simple change of perspective transforms chaos into wisdom and pain into light. Because on the path, every experience, pleasant or bitter, is a letter sent by destiny with the same message. Wake up. At the heart of all Eastern philosophy lies a silent but unwavering principle. True freedom is born from discipline. For the samurai, the sword was not merely a weapon, it was a mirror of the mind. If the mind was scattered, the blade would fail. If the heart was impure, the cut would be weak. Therefore, before wielding a sword, the warrior learned to master himself. Internal discipline is the first gateway to mastery. It is the point at which we stop fighting against the world and begin to understand that the most difficult enemy has always been within ourselves. The philosophies of Zen, Tao, and Bushido converge on the same teaching. He who does not control his mind becomes a slave to his emotions. However, discipline is not rigidity. True discipline is conscious movement. It is the balance between control and fluidity. Bamboo bends in the wind, but never breaks. It represents the essence of Eastern discipline, flexible firmness. What many call self-control, the East calls inner harmony. Practicing this discipline is to begin cultivating a kind of invisible power, the power to choose one's reaction, the power to silence anger, the power to act without losing one's composure. The samurai trained for years so that his body would react with precision and his mind would remain still like the surface of a lake. And the same is true for us. When the mind calms down, destiny unfolds. The ancient masters used to say, "To conquer the world is an impossible task, but to conquer oneself is an inevitable one." Inner discipline is not a prison, it's a liberation. It doesn't prevent you from feeling. It teaches you not to be swept away by your feelings. It doesn't eliminate fear. It gives you the courage to act despite it. And above all, it doesn't seek to eliminate external chaos, but rather to find serenity in the midst of it. When you awaken to this practice, you begin to realize that true power has never been in controlling circumstances, but in remaining centered while the world changes. Life, like the wind, blows in directions we cannot predict. But the warrior of steadfast spirit does not despair. He simply adjusts his sail. This is the essence of the samurai's first gateway, self-mastery. Without it, there is no clarity. Without clarity, there is no purpose. Without purpose, the sword of the mind becomes blind. Inner discipline is the thread that connects the human to the divine. And those who practice it discover what the ancients called the silent power, the ability to remain at peace even when everything around them cries out for reaction. Because a true warrior doesn't fight to defeat others. He struggles to overcome himself, and that, my friend, is the beginning of all enlightenment. In the West, we were taught to accumulate possessions, memories, people, victories. In the East, the teaching is the opposite. True growth begins when we learn to let go. Detachment is a silent art, and like all art, it requires courage, awareness, and practice. In Buddhist thought, attachment is the root of all suffering. And it's not just about losing something material, but about freeing yourself from the emotional bonds that prevent you from following the natural flow of life. Letting go isn't giving up. It's trusting. It's understanding that holding tightly to what has already served its purpose is the same as preventing a river from flowing. Life changes because you change. People leave because their cycle ends. Situations dissolve because your soul is ready for something greater. Think of a bird in flight. It doesn't carry its nest with it. It leaves it behind when it's time to fly. Similarly, detachment is not the absence of love, but expression of wisdom. To truly love is to allow everything to follow its natural course, without imprisoning, without demanding, without controlling. Taoism teaches that the universe is movement, and resisting that movement creates pain. Attachment is a form of resistance. It stems from the fear of loss, and fear is the opposite of trust. The path of the inner samurai is the path of disciplined surrender, where you give your best without demanding anything in return and release the outcome, trusting in the invisible order of destiny. Letting go of someone who's gone, a dream that's ended, or a past that will never return isn't weakness. It's recognizing that the soul also sheds its skin, that what once made sense may no longer serve its purpose today. But when you let go, something magical happens. The empty space that remains is filled with new possibilities. When you let go of what no longer serves you, the universe gives you back what you truly need. This is the essence of Zen teaching. When you open your hand, the universe fits inside it. Letting go is about making space in your heart. And it is in this space that serenity, focus, and purpose are born. A true warrior does not fight to hold on to the past. He learns to honor him, and then he lets him go. At the heart of Eastern philosophy lies a sublime paradox. The strength of the warrior and the tenderness of the wise man are one and the same. It is the fusion of steel with flower, of sword with heart. This balance is what the masters call karuna, active compassion, love that is not weakness, but silent power. Compassionate love is the most transformative force in the world because it is born from understanding, not need. When you love consciously, you don't seek possession, but connection. Don't try to change the other person, but to understand them. And when he understands, he stops reacting with hatred or anger, because he understands that every human being is fighting their own invisible battle. The samurai knew that fighting without compassion was fighting against himself. He sharpened his sword every day, but he also sharpened his heart, practicing empathy, humility, and patience. Buddhist philosophy states, to understand everything is to forgive everything. This does not mean accepting injustice, but understanding that every action stems from ignorance or fear. And whoever sees the root does not condemn, teaches. Compassionate love is the opposite of fragile love. He is not blind, he is lucid. He is not submissive, he is aware. He is not dependent, he is free. It is love that recognizes the other as part of the whole and oneself as part of that same flow. Practicing compassionate love is cultivating a strength that transcends the ego. It's about being able to look even at the person who hurt you and say, I choose not to repeat the pain. It is the act of breaking the cycle of suffering with the sword of forgiveness and the armor of conscience. In the East, a warrior who does not love is incomplete. A sword that does not protect is merely violence, and a heart without limits is simply fragile. Only when both are balanced does true power emerge, the power that heals, guides, and transforms. Compassionate love does not ask for applause, nor does it expect anything in return. He acts in silence. He extends his hand without judging, offers his presence without imposing, and teaches without demanding. This is the energy of great masters, firmness and tenderness in perfect harmony. Because in the end, the greatest victory is not conquering others. It's conquering yourself without losing your kindness. In Eastern philosophy, there is a principle that echoes like silent thunder. Willpower is the vital energy that shapes destiny. The ancients called this force to the invisible current that runs through the body, the mind, and the soul. It is the fuel of action and the fire of transformation. Without will, even the greatest talent fades. With will, even the impossible bends. The samurai understood this perfectly. He could be defeated physically but never spiritually, because he knew that the true battle was not against an external enemy, but against his own discouragement. When everyone gives up, the man of will continues. When everyone is silent, he still takes a step. When fear screams, he breathes. This breath is a symbol of inner power. The warrior does not seek to dominate others. He seeks to dominate his own impulse to give up. In Eastern thought, willpower is not stubbornness or blind resistance. It is direction. It is the ability to maintain focus even amidst chaos. It is the silent persistence that refuses to be shaped by circumstances. It's not just mental strength, it's harmony between purpose and action. That's why when you act with pure purpose, the universe aligns with you. It's like rowing with the current. Everything flows. But when your will gets lost in the noise of comparisons, others' expectations, and empty desires, you cease to be a master and become a slave. Marcus Aurelius said, "Your will is what defines your power." And the East adds, "The purity of this will define its destiny." When you put true intention into every gesture, from preparing a cup of tea to building a dream, the energy expands. Everything done with presence has power. Everything done with distraction dissolves. Willpower, therefore, is a form of meditation in motion. It is the moment when body, mind, and spirit become one. In life, there will be storms. There will be closed doors, betrayals, falls, and new beginnings. But if the flame of will is burning brightly, nothing can extinguish it. Because it doesn't depend on external circumstances, it arises from the inner decision to remain. The warrior doesn't ask, "Will it work?" He simply says, "I will go all the way." And that's why the universe conspires in favor of those who don't give in. Willpower is the bridge between dream and reality. It is the sword that cuts through the impossible. And whoever harnesses that flame, harnesses their own life. For the East, water is the supreme symbol of wisdom. It doesn't fight against obstacles. It flows around them. It doesn't break stones. It wears them down over time. It doesn't shout, but it transforms everything it touches. This is how a wise person lives, with the gentleness of water and the force of time. Acceptance is one of the deepest virtues in Eastern philosophy. and perhaps the most difficult for the human ego to grasp. Accepting doesn't mean giving up. Acceptance is seeing things as they are and acting from that clarity. Resistance creates suffering. Acceptance creates peace. Buddhism teaches that suffering arises from trying to change what cannot be changed. Acceptance, then, is an art of liberation. When you accept, you stop wasting energy trying to control the uncontrollable, and that energy, previously wasted, transforms into serenity. No Tao Te Ching Lao Tzu says, "When I release what I am, I become what I can be." That is the essence of acceptance. While you fight against life, you live tense, rigid, trapped. But when you learn to flow, the universe begins to cooperate. Acceptance is not passivity. It is wisdom in action. The samurai accepted impermanence not as defeat, but as a natural truth. He knew that autumn takes away the leaves, but brings fertilizer for new seeds. He accepted death not with fear, but with honor, because he understood that the cycle is sacred. In modern life, acceptance means stopping the escape. Stop demanding that the world conform to our desires. It means looking at what is and asking, how can I grow from this? When you do this, suffering dissolves and gives way to serenity. Acceptance is the mother of inner peace. She teaches you that not all battles need to be won, some need to be understood. And when you understand, the weight goes away. Pain transforms into wisdom, and the heart breathes peacefully again. To be like water is the highest level of consciousness, because water never forces its way, it simply flows. But even so, it overcomes everything that is rigid. So remember, you don't need to fight against life. Life is not your enemy. She is your own teacher, and sometimes the deepest lesson is simply to accept it. In Eastern cultures, gratitude is more than just a gesture of courtesy. It's a spiritual practice that transforms the state of the soul. Zen masters say that those who are grateful lack nothing, because gratitude is the silent acknowledgement that life is already enough. And when you acknowledge enough, the universe trusts you more. In Japanese culture, the simple act of giving thanks before a meal, the itadakimasu, carries a profound philosophy. It is not just a thank you for the food, but an acknowledgement of the energy of all beings that contributed to that moment. The farmer, the earth, the sun, the rain, the weather. This awareness of interdependence is the root of true gratitude, understanding that nothing exists in isolation. But in the modern world, the Western mind has become accustomed to focusing on lack, on what hasn't yet come, on what didn't work out, on what the other person has, and that is why there is so much unhappiness. The East teaches us that gratitude is not a reaction, it is a choice. You don't give thanks because everything is all right. Everything starts to get all right because you give thanks. Gratitude transforms focus, and focus transforms reality. Complaining energy is heavy, creates blockages, and attracts more of the same. But the energy of gratitude opens portals. When you start to be grateful even for challenges, you change the meaning of suffering. Pain ceases to be punishment and becomes refinement. Loss ceases to be injustice and becomes liberation. Everything changes color when you change your perspective. In Zen Buddhism, there is a practice called gasho, the gesture of hands joined in prayer. It is not a religious act, but an expression of reverence for the present moment. Each time the practitioner makes this gesture, he acknowledges, I am here, I'm alive, and that in itself is a miracle. Gratitude is the mental state that precedes all elevated spiritual states, because while the heart cries out, it shuts down. But when you express your gratitude, he opens up. And an open heart is fertile ground for abundance, material, emotional, and spiritual. Being grateful is an act of power, because those who are grateful cease to be victims. Those who give thanks take control of their own energy, and whoever takes control of their energy masters their destiny. In the East, it is taught that the universe is like a mirror. It reflects what you emanate. If you complain, he gives you scarcity in return. If you are grateful, he will return fullness. That is why the wise say, what you honor flourishes, what you ignore withers. Gratitude is the gateway to abundance, because it changes the kind of vibration with which you walk through life. And when its frequency changes, everything changes with it. We live in an era where everything is immediate. We want results in seconds, love in minutes, peace in hours. But nature, which is the greatest of teachers, knows no hurry. She has the rhythm of eternity, and it is at this pace that Eastern wisdom moves, slow, steady, present. In Eastern cultures, patience is not about waiting without acting. It's about acting without anxiety. It's about walking steadily, without letting time control you. Bamboo, a symbol of Eastern resilience, takes years to grow underground before breaking through the soil. During this time, nothing seems to happen, but in silence it takes deep root. And when it finally emerges, it grows with impressive speed, because it was prepared. Destiny is like that too. It doesn't fail, it brings about maturity. The impatient person lives in the future and gets frustrated. The wise person lives in the present and trusts. In ancient Japan, a sword apprentice would spend months honing the same sword stroke before being able to execute it in combat. The master observed in silence not only the technical progress, but also the inner balance, because haste obscures focus, and focus is the essence of mastery. Patience is the art of harmonizing with time. It's about understanding that each seed germinates in its own time, and forcing the process is to destroy the result. In Taoism, it is said, "Nature is never in a hurry, and yet everything comes to pass." This phrase is a profound lesson about trust. You don't need to push life, just align yourself with it. Patience is also a form of humility. She recognizes that there are greater forces at play. The universe has a rhythm that our minds cannot grasp. And when you understand that, you begin to see that delay is sometimes a form of protection. Silence is the answer, and that time is a teacher, not an enemy. Being patient means knowing how to wait with faith and act with serenity. It's about accepting that life doesn't always give you what you want, but it always gives you what you need, and this understanding changes everything. A hasty warrior loses precision. The wise, patient person wins without having to fight. Because patience is not weakness, it is contained strength, it is mastery of time. He who controls time controls destiny. Therefore, the teachers instruct, be like the river. It never rushes, but always reaches the sea. Patience is the secret rhythm of the universe. And when you learn to move with it, destiny ceases to be a race. It becomes a dance. In every relationship we experience, we leave something of ourselves and take something from the other. But the East teaches us that none of this is loss. Everything is learning. The people who pass through our lives don't come by chance. They come with a purpose. Some are mirrors that show what we have already overcome. Others are wounds that reveal what we still need to heal, or without exception, play a role in our awakening. Buddhism says that human relationships are the most faithful mirrors of the soul. It is in them that our shadows are revealed and our light is confirmed. When we love someone and are rejected, we learn the value of surrender without attachment. When we are betrayed, we learn the power of self-trust. When someone leaves, we learn that love does not depend on presence, but on awareness. Every person who hurt you was unknowingly a teacher who showed you a limit. Every disappointment was a lesson in dignity. Every silence was an invitation to introspection. When you change the way you see the past changes its weight. What was once pain transforms into wisdom. What was once anger transforms into compassion. In the East, there is a proverb that says, "The enemy is the teacher that destiny sends you when you forget who you are." This is one of the most powerful truths of the path. The enemy awakens the warrior. The traitor awakens discernment. Abandonment awakens spiritual self-sufficiency. Everything that seemed like destruction was, in essence, a ritual of reconstruction. When we look back with gratitude, we release the energy that binds us. Resentment freezes time. Understanding makes it flow. The samurai did not carry grudges. They weighed too heavily on someone who needed to move lightly. He honored even his enemy, for he knew that without him there would be no improvement. Life is a school without walls. People are the teachers. And the diploma is the awareness that no one made you waste time. Everyone helped you grow. The secret lies in not getting stuck in the pain of the past, but in extracting the gold from the experience. Relationships don't end, they just change form. And when you understand that, you are finally set free. Of all the virtues of the way, self-control is perhaps the most difficult and the noblest. In Bushido, the code of the samurai, it is the heart of true strength. To control others is power, to control oneself is wisdom. The warrior does not seek to eliminate his emotions, but to understand their flow. He knows that anger can be energy, fear can be alertness, and pain can be focus. The secret lies in not being dominated by them. Self-control is the ability to choose action instead of reaction. It's when silence speaks louder than shouting, and patience triumphs over impulse. The samurai trained for years not to react faster, but to react better. His mind was like the calm surface of a lake, and only when the water was serene could he see the reflection of truth. In Zen, it is said, "You cannot stop the waves, but you can learn to surf them." This is the principle of self-control. Life is full of emotional waves, injustices, provocations, fears, desires. But those who master their own minds transform chaos into strength and tension into clarity. Self-control is not coldness, it's awareness. It's not about becoming immune to suffering, it's about going through it with presence. Those who practice inner mastery know that every emotion is a message, not an enemy. Anger says, "Here's the limit." Sadness says, "Something needs to be understood." Fear says, "Prepare yourself." And calmness says, "You're on the right track." The samurai knew that losing control meant losing the fight, because the sword trembling in his hands reflected the mind trembling within. Therefore, the most important training was not physical, it was spiritual. Meditate, breathe, observe. These were their invisible weapons. When you practice self-control, the world loses its power to manipulate you. People stop throwing you off balance, words stop hurting you, and fear stops paralyzing you. You become like the mountain, motionless on the outside, but alive on the inside. The true warrior does not seek to eliminate chaos. He learns to dance with it. And it is this dance that makes him invincible, because in the end, the battle isn't between you and the world. It lies between your conscience and your impulsiveness. He who conquers himself conquers all wars. The ancient samurai knew that honor begins where submission ends. That's why boundaries weren't seen as barriers, but as sacred frontiers, the invisible territory where the soul preserves its integrity. In the East, respecting one's own limits is an act of spiritual respect. Those who don't know how to say no end up betraying their own essence. The limit is the point where self-love meets conscience. He is not rigid, he is clear. Bamboo that bends in the wind doesn't break, but it also doesn't bend until it loses its shape. Human beings should be like that, flexible enough to coexist with the world, firm enough not to lose themselves. Eastern philosophies teach that vital energy. 2. This inner strength dissipates when we allow constant emotional intrusions. Every time you remain silent in the face of personal injustice, give in beyond what you can handle, or accept what doesn't resonate with your purpose, a part of your inner strength fades away. That's why the masters said, "What you allow, you teach." Having boundaries isn't a lack of empathy, it's wisdom. It means understanding that not every presence is a blessing, not every help is necessary, and not every bond is eternal. Detachment, when matured, transforms into healthy boundaries. The samurai did not say yes to everything. He only said yes to what was aligned with his code of honor. In modern life, setting boundaries is one of the greatest acts of courage. It's looking at someone and saying, "I respect you, but I also respect myself." It's about learning that preserving your peace is more important than maintaining any semblance of harmony. Because true harmony is born from authenticity, not obedience. Boundaries are not walls, they are selective gateways. They are not meant to drive away love, but to filter out what is not love. And once you understand that, you discover that the boundary isn't the end of the connection, it's the beginning of reciprocity. Eastern traditions teach that even the sun sets to be reborn. And we as human beings also need to learn to close cycles with dignity. Setting a limit is the art of saying, "My duty ends here," and your destiny begins. And when you honor that point, the universe understands that your energy is no longer for sale. It becomes sacred, and the sacred is not negotiable. In the East, empathy is not just feeling what the other person feels. It is to understand the energy that the other person carries without getting lost within it. It is the bridge that unites hearts, but also the border that protects the spirit. The true master is the one who understands the other, but remains centered. Buddhism speaks of karuna, conscious compassion. It is different from piety. Compassion views others from above. Compassion sees the other from within, but without being confused by their pain. She says, I see you, I hear you, I recognize you, but I don't erase myself. Empathy is not about absorbing, it's about understanding. When you feel someone's pain and transform it into balanced action, you are practicing the highest form of love. But when you take on the suffering of others as if it were your own, you transform a gift into a burden. Therefore, balance is essential. The samurai had a compassionate heart, but also a disciplined mind. He helped those who had fallen, but he never let himself fall with them. He knew that in order to heal the other, he needed to keep his own blade clean. Similarly, to take care of someone, you need to take care of your own energy first. Empathy is also a tool of social wisdom. In the East, listening is considered a spiritual art. Listening isn't about waiting for your turn to speak. It's about silencing your ego to allow the other person to fully exist. Many conflicts disappear when there is genuine listening, because empathy dissolves the separation that the ego creates between I and you. Being empathetic means walking between worlds, the world of another and your own, without losing your balance. It's about seeing through the masks, understanding the invisible pains, and still keeping your heart open. It is the gift of being present without being imprisoned. The masters say that empathy is the sound the soul makes when it recognizes another soul. And when that happens, life becomes lighter, relationships become more sincere, and love becomes more human. But never forget, unlimited empathy is self-destruction. Limits without empathy lead to loneliness. The balance between the two is what creates the complete human being, strong as a sword, gentle as the wind, and wise as silence. In Eastern traditions, words are considered a sword, capable of cutting through ignorance or wounding those who wield them without awareness. In ancient Japan, the samurai trained in the use of words with the same respect he gave to the blade. He spoke only when necessary, and each word was measured like a blow, precise, direct, and honorable. Communication for him was an extension of the soul. In Zen Buddhism, there is a simple teaching. Before you speak, let your words pass through 3 gates. Is it true? Is it necessary? Is it kind? This is the basis of conscious communication. Speaking impulsively is a waste of energy. Speaking clearly creates harmony. When words originate from the ego, they cause a stir. When it springs from the spirit, it brings peace. In the East, silence is as powerful as sound. The monks call him shikan, the silence that listens. It is not the absence of sound, it is total presence. It is the space where the truth can be heard without distortion. Often the wise person doesn't answer because they know that silence teaches more than words. Spiritual communication is the art of balancing sound and silence. It's about knowing when to speak and when to be silent. It's about understanding that not all truth needs to be said, and that some words heal more through their tone than their content. In Taoism, it is said, true words are not beautiful, and beautiful words are not true. This means that authenticity doesn't always sound pleasant, but it's always liberating. The samurai did not lie because lying was a crack in the soul, and a fractured soul cannot sustain honor. That's why he spoke little, but every word was a commitment. In the East, it is believed that words have energy vital. When you speak, you send out vibrations that shape reality. That's why words are seeds. Some bloom, others poison. Communicating well means understanding that every dialogue is also a mirror. The way you speak to others reveals how you speak to yourself. If your voice carries impatience, there is impatience within. If you carry serenity, there is balance. True eloquence is born from inner stillness. The art of sound and silence is not learned from books. It is learned through the practice of presence. Listening to others is listening to yourself through them. Speaking consciously is transforming dialogue into meditation. And silence, when it is complete, becomes the language of the soul. In Japanese theater, the actors wear masks that represent archetypal emotions: joy, anger, fear, serenity. But at the end of the performance, there's a moment when the actor removes his mask and bows. This gesture represents a return to essence, the point where the character ends and the human begins. In Eastern philosophy, this act symbolizes something greater, the courage to be who we truly are. Authenticity is the purest expression of the soul. It's the point where the inner voice becomes louder than the chorus of others' opinions. But to reach that state, one must confront the greatest enemy, the fear of judgment. The East teaches that he who seeks external approval is condemned to emotional slavery. The samurai did not seek to be loved, he sought to be true, and that truth set him free. Modern society rewards appearance, but the path rewards essence. The ego constructs masks in order to be accepted. The spirit destroys them in order to be whole. Authenticity requires letting go of image, the courage to show vulnerability, and the discipline to remain true to yourself even when the world pushes you in the opposite direction. In Zen, there is a concept called honshin, the true mind. It is a state of inner purity where there is no contradiction between what one thinks, what one feels, and what one does. Being authentic means aligning these three levels. It's about speaking your feelings without hurting others, acting according to your beliefs without fear, and walking your path without needing applause. But authenticity is also silence. She doesn't need to prove anything. She has the serene gaze of someone who knows herself. And self-knowledge is the beginning of all mastery. The samurai would spend years in introspection to discover his why, because those who don't know who they are will accept any role and get lost on the stage of life. Authenticity is not arrogance, it's integrity. It's not rebellion, it's consistency. It's not pride, it's clarity of mind. She is the meeting point between the human and the divine. And when you get to that point, everything that's false falls apart on its own. The masters say, "He who is true shines without trying." Authenticity has a quiet magnetism. She doesn't seek attention. She attracts respect. And whoever lives with this truth becomes indomitable. Being authentic means living without masks. It's about understanding that the face the world needs to see isn't the one that pleases. It's the one that inspires. And when that face appears, the entire universe bows down because it recognizes something rare in it. The soul awakens. On the path of the spiritual warrior, there is an inevitable moment, the instant when one must wield the sword not against the enemy, but against one's own resentment. Forgiveness is that silent severing. It is not a gesture of weakness, but the most precise blow the soul can deliver, the one that breaks the invisible chains of the past. Eastern teachings suggest that hatred is a double-edged sword. It wounds the other person, but it also poisons the one who wields it. When you carry resentment, it's like walking with stones in your heart. Every step is heavy, every breath is short. Forgiveness, on the other hand, is the breath that restores lightness. It doesn't mean forgetting, nor justifying. It means to liberate. Zen masters say, to forgive is to release the burning coal with which you intended to burn someone. It's an act of courage, not of forgetfulness, because forgiveness isn't born when the pain disappears. It's born when you decide that it will no longer define you. The samurai knew this. He held no grudges, for every accumulated negative emotion clouded his mind and distracted his spirit. Before each battle, he meditated in silence, and in that silence, he purified his soul. Because he knew that an impure sword fails, and so does an impure heart. Forgiveness is the ultimate stage of inner mastery. It's about looking at the past without wanting to change it. It's about understanding that each person did what they could with the level of awareness they had. And if you had experienced the same pain, perhaps you would have acted the same way. Forgiveness is the acknowledgement of human ignorance and the embrace of divine wisdom. It's the moment when you stop being a prisoner of the past and become the guardian of inner peace. And that is why forgiveness is one of the highest expressions of spiritual power. Whoever forgives does not submit. They are liberated. In the East, it is believed that forgiveness cleanses the energy is vital. When you let go of resentment, the energy starts flowing again. Health improves, the mind calms down, the body breathes. Because resentment is like a sword stuck in the chest, the longer you hold on, the more it bleeds. A true warrior does not harbor hatred, he harbors wisdom, and forgiveness is your greatest victory. For defeating the enemy is easy, the difficult part is overcoming pride. In the East, the word is sacred. She is the seal of the soul. The ancient samurai lived under the code of Bushido, and within it was an unbreakable commandment. A man is worth the weight of his word. Breaking a promise was a form of dishonor, and dishonor was worse than death. Today we live in times when promises are made lightly and forgotten in haste, but the universe still operates according to the same old law. Energy follows the direction of the word. Everything you say, consciously or unconsciously, takes shape. Each I will is a seed planted in the soil of destiny, and every empty word is an abandoned field that never bears fruit. Commitment is the spiritual act of aligning intention and action. It's about saying and doing, thinking and fulfilling. And it is in this alignment that power is born, because the word is the first step in creation. The whole world began with a sound. The East teaches that true commitment is not to others, but to oneself. Keeping promises is honoring one's own essence. When you promise yourself something and you keep your promise, you strengthen the bridge between spirit and matter. When someone makes a promise and doesn't deliver, that bridge breaks down and the path becomes more difficult. A samurai would not swear to something he could not uphold. He preferred silence to empty promises, for he knew that every ill-chosen word weighed heavily on his spirit. Therefore the teachers instruct, talk less, do more. Commitment is discipline in the form of loyalty. It's about saying, I'm going to change, and actually changing. It's about saying, I believe, and acting like someone who believes. It's about understanding that destiny is shaped not by what one dreams of, but by what one sustains. On the spiritual path, commitment is also a form of prayer. Because when the universe sees consistency, it responds with confidence. Nothing flourishes in unstable soil, and nothing prospers in an indecisive heart. The spiritual warrior fulfills what he says because he knows that his word is his destiny. And when he speaks, the universe listens. The sound of truth creates vibration, and the right vibration opens portals. Therefore, choose your words as one sharpens a sword, with focus, respect, and intention. And when you say something, do it, even if no one is watching. For whoever is true to what they say is already walking with the gods. On the Eastern path, the warrior does not fear the mirror, he reveres it. Self-criticism is not punishment, it is enlightenment. It is the moment when the disciple stops pointing at the world and begins to look inward. The samurai was not concerned with defeating others, but with defeating himself every day. And that's where the real battle lies, between who you are and who you know you can be. Zen masters say, the most dangerous enemy is the one that lives within your own mind. And that is why self-criticism is a sharp blade. If used wisely, it cuts through illusion. If used harshly, it cuts through the spirit itself. It should be accompanied by compassion, never by guilt. Observing one's own mistakes without self-destruction is one of the highest acts of awareness. In meditation, the practitioner observes the thoughts that arise like clouds in the sky. He doesn't judge them, he simply acknowledges them and lets them pass. Similarly, healthy self-criticism involves observing without condemning. It's about learning from mistakes without becoming the mistake. It is about acknowledging the shadow without erasing it, because it is from the shadow that the light of consciousness is born. The East teaches that he who knows others is wise, but he who knows himself is enlightened. Self-criticism is the mirror of this enlightenment, the moment when the mind reflects the heart itself. When you examine yourself honestly, you notice patterns, fears, and beliefs that previously went unnoticed, and upon realizing this, the power of transformation awakens. After each battle, the samurai would sit in silence and mentally review his movements. Not to blame oneself, but to perfect the next move. That's how life should be, a constant training in observation and refinement. Self-criticism is not meant to punish you, but to align you with your highest purpose. It is the ritual of sharpening the inner sword, the moment when you ask yourself, did I act honorably today? Was I true to my principles? Did I speak more than I listened? Did I love less than I could have? These questions don't require perfection, they require presence. Because perfection is unattainable, but consciousness is eternal. Self-criticism is the mirror of the soul in training. She shouldn't humiliate you, but awaken you. And those who learn to see themselves truthfully are never lost again. Because self-knowledge is the map of the spirit. In the East, the end is never the end. It is merely a return to the beginning with greater wisdom. The spiritual path is similar. Every lesson learned, every pain overcome, every encounter that seemed accidental, all intertwine in an invisible tapestry guided by purpose. Nothing is random. Everything is an invitation to expansion. After crossing the valleys of forgiveness, the deserts of solitude and the mountains of self-criticism, the warrior awakens. Not because the world has changed, but because he has learned to see it with new eyes. He discovers that true power was never outside of him. It was always in his own hands, waiting to be recognized. The Bushido, it teaches that victory is silent, and this inner victory is one in which you master your own chaos and transform pain into discipline, doubt into clarity, fear into faith. Awakening is not noisy. It is the moment when the soul remembers who it is. At the end of the path, the disciple looks back and understands that each obstacle was a teacher in disguise. Every person who crossed his path, every loss, every mistake, everything was carefully placed there to shape his essence. And then he understands, nothing was in vain. Eastern philosophy reminds us that life is a dojo, a training space. Here, every challenge is an exercise, every relationship is a mirror, and each day is an opportunity to sharpen the spirit with the sword of conscience. Now, the spiritual warrior bows before existence, not in defeat but in gratitude, because he understands that he is not the master of the path. He is a part of it. And that wisdom is not about having answers, but about living with questions with serenity. So, my friend, breathe. Look at what you've become. You're not the same person who started this journey. There is more silence within, more clarity in the gaze, more compassion in the touch. And that is true power, to be at peace even in the midst of chaos. If this teaching touched your heart, share it with someone who needs to awaken. Perhaps that person is fighting the same battle that you have already won. And so the cycle continues, from soul to soul, from mind to mind, from heart to heart. Remember, the power to change is in your hands. But the wisdom to sustain this change lies in your inner silence. May you walk lightly, consciously, and whole, like bamboo that dances with the wind but never loses its roots.